Good morning, friends. Welcome to the 12th lecture of functional analysis. In the last lecture, we have seen the definitions of isometry, isometric isomorphism, and topological isomorphism. In today's lecture, we will try to understand some important theorems on these definition. Okay. Before going to this theorem, we will just recall the definition of topological isomorphism. Two linear spaces n and n dash are said to be topologically isomorphism if there exists a linear operator t from n to n dash having inverse. Second condition, t establishes isomorphism of n into n dash. And third, t and t inverse are continuous on their respective domains. Okay, let us go for the theorem. Now here we want to prove that x and y be any nonlinear spaces, then we want to prove x and y are topologically isomorphic if and only if there exists a one linear transformation T of x onto y and positive constant small m and capital M such that m norm of x is less than or equals to norm of T of x less than or equals to capital M into norm of x. Let us try to prove the result. In the first part of the proof, we will try to assume that the two nonlinear spaces x and y are topologically isomorphic. Therefore, my assumption will be let x and y are topologically isomorphic. Okay. Then what is our aim to prove? This inequality to be proved. First, before going to prove the inequality, let me write how many conditions we have in our hand. That mapping T is from x to y, and as these two spaces are topologically isomorphism, first T should be 1 1, second it should be linear. Okay, why it is 1 1 and linear? Because for the existence of inverse 1 1 1 condition is essential. Similarly, the mapping is onto and T inverse are continuous. These many things are in our hand. Okay. Now what to prove? We want to prove that m norm of x is less than or equals to norm of T of x is less than or equals to capital M into norm of x. Okay. Now look at the conditions. The mapping is 1 1 linear onto, that is fine, but as the mapping is continuous and its inverse is also continuous, what this is giving us, if T is continuous and linear as well, then we can say that the mapping T is bounded. If it is bounded, there exists a positive constant m such that norm of T of x is less equal by capital M into norm of x, right? Similarly, T inverse is continuous is in our hand. T inverse is continuous. T linear will give us T inverse is also linear, and hence it is bounded. Therefore, there exists a positive constant small m such that m norm of x is less than or equals to norm of T of x. This we have seen in one of the theorem. T inverse continuous, hence T inverse bounded will give the existence of a positive constant m such that this inequality holds true. Right. Now look at both the inequalities. Combining both the inequalities, one can say that m norm of x is less than or equals to norm of T of x is less than or equals to capital M into norm of x. Right. Thus the first part of the proof is over. Now what we want to prove in the second part? In the second part, our assumption is there exists one linear transformation of T of x onto y such that this condition holds, and our aim is to prove that x and y are topologically isomorphic. Okay, let me write if part. In the if part, our assumption will be T is one linear transformation with the inequality m norm of x less than or equals to norm of T of x less than or equals to m into norm of x. No doubt the mapping is onto as well. T is a mapping defined from x to y. Right. This is in our hand. And what to prove? we want to prove that X and Y are topologically isomorphic. Okay, for topologically isomorphic, we want the condition 1, 1 linear, the mapping is on 2. Along with these three conditions, we want T and T inverse are continuous. Now we'll try to obtain T and T inverse are continuous from this inequality. Let me write the inequality again. Therefore, this is M norm of X less than or equals to norm of T of X less than or equals to M into norm of X. Okay, if we look at this right part of the inequality, the right part norm T of X less than or equals to some positive constant M into norm of X will give us the condition T is bounded. Okay, similarly, the left part of the inequality, positive constant small m into norm of X less than or equals to norm T of X will give us a condition T inverse is bounded. But as T is linear, T inverse is also linear. Therefore, this T bounded will give us T continuous. Similarly, this T inverse bounded will also give us T inverse is continuous. Hence, all the conditions for topological isomorphism will satisfy. That is, T is 1, 1 linear will give us isomorphism. On 2 it is there, and T inverse both are continuous. Hence, the two spaces X and Y are topologically isomorphic. Okay. Now we will go to the next definition. The next definition is of equivalent norms, right? Equivalent, actually, as we know, in metric spaces, one can define many metrics on a single linear space, which will give us the different ways to find out the distance between the two vectors. Similarly, on a linear space L, we can define different kinds of norm. Here, let us start with the linear space L, and this linear space can be made into a non-linear space in two different ways. Say, we are going to define two norms, say norm 1 and norm 2. Okay, these are the two norms defined on L. Therefore, L along with norm 1 is a non-linear space. Similarly, L along with norm 2 is also a normed linear space. Now, we will try to understand the definition when the two norms defined on the linear space are equivalent. When the two norms defined on the linear space are equivalent. The definition says that the two norms, I'll write the definition, two norms, norm 1 and norm 2 are equivalent. This is the symbol we are using. Two norms are said to be equivalent if and only if they generate same topology. If and only if they generate same topology on L. Same topology on L. Now we will try to understand the meaning of same topology. Okay, actually in the initial theorems we have seen that d of xy is equal to norm of x minus y. Norm of x minus y is a norm which in turn induces a topology. Okay, this we have proved a metric. This we have proved a metric. Okay, and we know that every metric induces a topology. Okay, therefore this topology will be a topology induced by this norm. Okay, therefore with this linking we can say that every norm defined on the linear space induces a topology or generates a topology. And if the two norms generate same kind of topology, then we can say that the two norms are equivalent to one another. Okay, to understand this, we will go to an important theorem. The theorem says that let N be a norm linear space. Okay, and suppose there are two norms defined, norm 1 and norm 2 defined on N. These are the two norms defined on the linear space N. Then prove that these norms are equivalent. These norms are equivalent if and only if these norms are equivalent if and only if there exist positive constant small m and capital M such that m norm 1 of x is less equal by norm 2 of x less equal by capital M into norm 1 of x for all x in n. Okay. If you just look at this inequality and the inequality we have proved in the previous theorem, these two will look very similar to one another. Okay. Let us try to understand. What are the things given to us? N is a norm linear space. There are two different norms defined, norm 1 and norm 2. Okay. For the sake of convenience, we will write N1 as a norm linear space N together with norm 1. That is, norm 1 is the norm defined. Similarly, we will write N2 as a as a norm linear space N together with norm 2. Right. Now, these are the two spaces we want to define. Therefore, if you just have a look, this middle term is T of x in our previous inequality. Therefore, if I start, here it is the middle term is T of x. Therefore, here time being, let us start with defining T of x is equal to x. That is an identity transformation. Let T of x is equal to x. Okay. Now, this T is linear transform. Now, consider this T as a linear transformation with domain N1 and range N2. What I'm saying, T is a mapping from N1 to N2. As it is range N2, let me call the mapping as onto mapping. Okay. Then may I say that T inverse is also linear? T inverse is also a linear transformation. Therefore, what is the domain for T inverse? It will be N2, no doubt, to N1. Okay, range N1. Okay, such that, as we have defined T of x is equals to x, may I say it is implies and implied by T inverse x is equal to x. T inverse x is equal to x. Okay, now we will start with an assumption. T is continuous. T is continuous. Now we know T linear, T is continuous will give us T is bounded. Will give us T is bounded. Okay. And if T is bounded, we again know that there exists a positive constant M such that, what such that? Norm 2 of T of x. Norm 2 of T of x is less equal by M into norm 1 of x. Why I am writing the norms like this? Because just have a look. T is a mapping from N1 to N2. Therefore, if we start with x in N1, the T image will be in N2. Therefore, on T of x, the norm working will be norm 2. And on x, the norm working is norm 1. Okay. But what is T of x we have taken? It is x. Therefore, may I say this is norm 2 of x is less than or equals to M into norm 1 of x. Okay. Similarly, T inverse is continuous. Similarly, T inverse is continuous, which is implies and implied by, as T inverse, T is linear, T inverse will be also linear. Therefore, may I write T inverse is bounded. And if T inverse is bounded, with that theorem, one can write down M norm 1 of x is less than or equals to norm T of x. M norm 1 of x is less than or equals to T of x, which in turn we can write M norm 1 of x is less than or equals to, sorry, here it is norm 2 working. Therefore, this is norm 2. Okay. Therefore, combine the inequalities number 1 and number 2. Therefore, combinedly, I can say T and T inverse continuous is implies and implied by M norm 1 of x less equal by norm 2 of x less equal by capital M into norm 1 of x. Let me call this as inequality number 3. Now we will try to understand again the another aspect of T and T inverse are continuous. Let me write T and T inverse are continuous. What does it give us? Inverse image. We know that if T is continuous, inverse image of open set in the codomain is open in the domain. Therefore, here may I write inverse image. Here we are starting with both T and T inverse are continuous. Therefore, inverse image of open sets in, what is the codomain for T? N2. What is the codomain for T inverse? N2 and N1 under T and T inverse respectively are open in N1 and N2. Right? T and T inverse, as we have taken this to be identity transformation. What this will give us? Okay. Shall I explain this with a sketch again? Okay. T is the mapping. Here we are taking from N1 to N2. Right? This is T. Okay. Now, if I start with open sets, say G, this is open set in N1. Its inverse image. What is the inverse image under T? This is T inverse G. Right? Is open in N1. But what is this mapping T we have started with? Identity. Therefore, this is nothing but G itself. That is, G open in N2 will give us G open in N1 under T inverse. Right? Now, under T inverse, what will happen? Now we'll start with T inverse, right? Therefore, the domain will be N2. Okay. Mapping is T inverse. And what is the codomain? No doubt it is N1. Now, if I start with, say, H as an open set in N1, its inverse. What will be the inverse image? As T I am taking identity, its inverse will be again identity. Therefore, what is the inverse image in N2? This is H again. Therefore, this H is open in N2. Therefore, H open in N1 will give us H open in N2. Therefore, may I say, combining both the statements, that open sets in N1 and N2 are same? Open sets in N1 and N2 are same, right? If open sets are same, may I say they generate same topology? Therefore, may I say norm 1 and norm 2 induces or generates same topology, right? And according to the definition, if they generate same topology, what does it mean? The two norms are equivalent. The two norms are equivalent. Therefore, T and T inverse continuous will give us the two norms are equivalent, right? Similarly, T inverse are continuous will give us this inequality. Therefore, A implies and implied by B, A implies and implied by C, we will say that B implies and implied by C. Therefore, M norm 1 of X, this inequality implies and implied by the norms are equivalent. Therefore, here should I write? That is, M norm 1 of X is less than or equals to norm 2 of X less than or equals to M into norm 1 of X. This condition will give that the two norms are equivalent if and only if this condition is satisfied. Or in the reverse way, we can say that we can write this inequality in the different form. That is, M norm 2 of X less than or equals to M norm 1 of X less than or equals to M into norm 2 of X. One can use any one of the conditions for saying that the two norms are equivalent. I hope this theorem was understood very neatly. Okay, now we'll go to some important theorems which are dependent on the equivalent norms. Rather, some characteristics of the equivalent norms we will discuss. Okay, in the first characteristic, the first theorem we will say, if the two norms are equivalent, then one is Banach, another is also a Banach. Okay, let me write here the theorem. What is the theorem? Okay, what is given to us? Norm 1 is equivalent to norm 2. Are the two norms defined on the linear space X? Then prove that. What to prove? The first step to prove is X norm 1 is a Banach space. X norm 1 is Banach space if and only if X norm 2 is Banach space. This is the first characteristic. In the second characteristic, we will say that if A is any subset of X, then A is bounded in one norm, that is X norm 1, if and only if A is bounded in, if and only if A is bounded in X norm 2. Okay, we will go for the proof of this theorem. Okay, let us go for the proof. First property we will verify that X norm 1 is Banach space if and only if X norm 2 is Banach space, provided the two norms defined on the linear space X are equivalent to one another. Okay, let me start proving the first. In that we will start with only if part. Okay, therefore in only if part, let me assume X norm 1 is Banach space. X norm 1 is Banach space. What should I prove then? X norm 2 is Banach space, right? X norm 2 is Banach space. In order to prove X norm 2 is a Banach space, already it is norm linear space. That we know. Therefore, we will verify only completeness property regarding X norm 2. Therefore, we will start with one Cauchy sequence in the norm linear space. Let me write, let Xn be a Cauchy sequence. Cauchy sequence in X norm 2. Right? Now, we want to prove that this Cauchy sequence is convergent in the same space under norm 2. Okay. Now, according to the definition, what we know, if the two norms are equivalent, norm 1, not definition, by previous theorem, norm 1 and norm 2 are equivalent, may I say there exist positive constants, small m and capital M, such that, what such that? M norm 2 of X is less than or equals to norm 1 of X less than or equals to capital M into norm 2 of X. Okay, now we know that as the sequence Xn is Cauchy under norm 2, if we prove that the same sequence is Cauchy under norm 1, why? Because we know that X norm 1 is Banach space, means it is complete space. Therefore, what we will do? We will try to prove that the sequence Xn is Cauchy under norm 1. Okay, therefore, using this right part of the proof, right part of the inequality, what I will write? I will try to prove the sequence Xn is Cauchy. Okay, therefore I will consider norm 1 of Xn minus Xm. Okay, then according to the right part, may I write this is, oh sorry, here it is norm 2 of X. This is norm 2 of Xn minus Xm. Is that fine? Okay, what is this for? For any Mn greater equal by a stage capital N, say. Okay, now we know that as Xn is already Cauchy under norm 2, then what can I write for this right part? Therefore, may I say, as sequence Xn is Cauchy in X norm 2, right? Therefore, may I say, for given epsilon greater than 0, for given epsilon greater than 0, there exists a stage n such that, what such that? Norm of Xn minus X, norm 2 of Xn minus Xm is less than epsilon. Okay, but look at this equation. we want to prove that the sequence xn is Cauchy under norm 1. Therefore, anyhow, our aim is to make this norm 1 of xn minus xm is less than m. Therefore, here if I put the value norm 2 of xn minus, here I will put, it gives us m into epsilon. Therefore, what the adjustment we will make? Here we will write epsilon by n and we will put it in the equation number 1. Therefore, equation number 1 implies, what it is going to imply? Norm 1 of xn minus xm is strictly less than m into epsilon upon m, which is equal to epsilon. This is norm 1. Therefore, the sequence xn is Cauchy under norm 1, right? If it is Cauchy under norm 1, we already know that x norm 1 is a Banach space. Therefore, may I say that there exists a limit point, say x in x, such that xn tends to x in which space? In x norm 1. In x norm 1. That is norm 1 of xn minus x tends to 0 as n tends to infinity. As n tends to infinity. Now we will make use of left part of this inequality. Okay. Well, according to the left part of the inequality, may I use the left part of the inequality? Using left part of inequality. Using left part of the inequality, may I say m norm 1 of xn minus x is less equal by norm, using left, sorry, here it is norm 2. Using, this is less equal norm 1 of xn minus x, right? M is positive, therefore let us shift it on the right. Therefore, this is norm 2 of xn minus x is less equal by 1 by m norm 1 of xn minus x. But as per this statement, we know this norm 1 xn minus x will tends to 0 as n tends to infinity. Therefore, may I say norm 2 of xn minus x will also tends to 0 as n tends to infinity. What this implies? That the sequence xn tends to x as n tends to infinity in which norm? X norm 2. Therefore, we have started with a Cauchy sequence in x norm 2 and we have proved that the Cauchy sequences converges to a limit in the same space. Hence, we can say that x norm 2 is a Banach space. X norm 2 is a Banach space. Similarly, one can prove the reverse part. Assuming it is assuming x norm 2 is a Banach space, one can prove very easily that x norm 1 is a Banach space, right? Now we will prove the second statement. What is the second statement? For A to be a subset of X, we want to prove that A is bounded in X norm 1 if and only if A is bounded in X norm 2. Okay. For this part, again, we will assume that A is bounded in X norm 1. Okay. Second, to prove that, what should I assume? Assume A is bounded in X norm 1. Okay. And what is our aim to prove that? A is bounded in X norm 2. Okay. According to the definition, what we know that if A is bounded, there exists a positive constant, say K1, such that, what such that? Norm 1 of X is less equal by some K1 for all X in A. For all X in A. Again, we know norm 1 is equivalent to norm 2. Therefore, by the previous theorem, we will write the inequality. There exist constants, positive constant, capital M, small m and capital M, such that M norm 1 of X is less equal by norm 2 of X is less equal by capital M into norm 1 of x. Okay. Now look at this right part. We have already seen that norm 1 of x is less equal by k1, but we want to prove that it is bounded in norm 2. Therefore, taking a right part only, may I say norm 2 of x is less equal by, let me replace this norm 1 of x by k1. Therefore, combinedly, may I write this is m into k1. This is true for all x in A. Therefore, look at this. Norm 2 of x is less equal by some positive constant for all the elements x in A. Therefore, we can say that A is bounded in x norm 2. A is bounded in x norm 2. Similarly, we can prove the reverse part of the theorem. Okay. I hope the lecture is understood very clearly. If there is any doubt, you can chat me later. Thank you for watching today's lecture.